Hello everyone. Welcome back to my Infinite Fusion nuzlocke. Last time you saw me was doing one of these was a while ago, and this one I did today, and I'm quite ill, as why my voice might sound a bit off, but I sure hope that you do enjoy. As you saw before, my starter choices were Alakazam, Kangaskhan, and Scolipede. I was tempted to go for Scolipede, but I remembered that it's also an egg coming up later. So I thought maybe I won't. I do also lose that first battle, but don't have Pokeballs yet, so it doesn't count. And while other me goes and finds his counter, I'll explain some rule changes. It's a hard course, so no items in battle, but I've now given myself infinite healing items and better Pokeballs than just regular ones, because it's so boring just sitting there chucking Pokeballs. As you'll see, I'll be using Quick Balls and Ultra Balls. I've also given myself infinite rare candies to just stop the grind, but level caps will be enforced by the game. And my first encounter is a Sceptile named Christmas Tree. I've also given myself infinite splices and reverses, so I don't have to go through and buying them all. Then, in Viridian Forest, I find a Sentret, who I immediately catch in a Quick Ball because I'm lazy. And I name him Slicer after the Sentret Haxorus from whichever run it was a while ago. I think it was probably the last one of these. Then, on Route 2, I find a Cacturn, which is pretty easy to catch, again, thanks to Quick Balls. And if you get upset at me for cheating, I don't care. This is just so much nicer than having to sit in grass for ages chucking Pokeballs. And even with all this, it still took 7 hours. So don't complain, just be glad it happened. Then on Route 22, I find a Therathorn, whose catching process is again made much easier, and I don't have to. Well, it does catch in one, but I don't have to spend 300 Pokeballs trying to catch it at least. So just be glad it doesn't take forever. Then, after leveling my entire team to their level cap, I'm ready to face with a rival, who leads with a Zubat Dunsparce, who is... I seem to be very confused on what to do, and so I just click Confusion, the super effective move. He then sends in the Kangaskhan, which killed me in one hit last time. So I seem to sit here and think as it goes for a fake out, and I just go for... inner focus, so I go for Confusion and one-shot it. Then in the Secret Garden I encounter a Politoed, which I am quite excited about, and then chuck a Quick Ball and I think I just catch it immediately, yeah. Catch it immediately, and Politoed joins the team as Bouncy Forg. I then hatch the Rockruff egg from the Secret Garden, and I name him Dwayne, after the one and only Dwayne The Rock Johnson, of course. Then on Route 3, I encounter a Shuckle and just chuck a Quick Ball and catch it instantly, thankfully, eliminating any issues I would have in catching it. I then realise the absolute defensive monster I can make with Ferrothorn Shuckle, who can just stall things out to oblivion, which will be very, very fun later. And then it was time for Brock, where I used my Cacturn and Alakazam against his... I think he used Ghost, yes, Ghost, where he leads with Spiritomb Moltres. Switch from Cacturn into Alakazam, go for a Confusion as I get hit by Fire Spin, but second Confusion finishes it off, as he sends in Fractured Duskull. I go for Confusion, get hit with Astonish, bring me down to 3, switch back to Cacturn, take a Nightshade, and then Leech Seed, go for Leech Seed, flinch, then go for it again and actually hit it. And then I go for an Absorb, doing very little damage. So I go for it again because it's the only good move I've got against it, as Leech Seed and Absorb slowly whittle it down and kill it. Then, after evolving both Dwayne and Slicer into Furret and Lycanroc respectively, I then fuse the Lycanroc with Cacturn, giving me Cactrock, but I think I just stick with Khaki for a name. Yeah, he'll do more stuff later, but he'll be cool. I then get a very strange metal Magikarp from the guy selling stuff, from the guy who sells one in the Pokemon Center outside of Mount Moon. Then, inside of Mount Moon, I find myself a Cleffa, who I just throw one quick ball at, and it joins my party. To not really be used too much at all. But, could have been worse. I hope. Can't remember what else is in here, because I think I just repelled my way through it. After sweeping my way through Mount Moon, I go to the route out the front and, find a Sneasel's main counter after skipping the fused Pokemon. And if you want to see the rules, just check out the previous videos I've done on this. I catch it in a single quick ball, and he joins my party, and he will be incredibly useful, I can tell you that. Then, after sweeping the gym trainers with Sceptile, I go straight to Misty with Sceptile. She is a fighting type gym leader, and Sceptile has Aerial Ace, which just kind of sweeps her team completely. All apart from the Blazer Canaradactyl, where I'm scared of fire type moves, so I switch into Alakazam. Go for a Psybeam, as I take an Ancient Power, and 2 Psybeams do the trick. Then, after using a random Ice Stone I found to evolve Weavile, I fuse it with Sceptile to get Sceptile, which is an incredibly powerful physical attacker, especially with the Muscle Band. Just giving it an insane physical attack. I then fuse Furret and Alakazam to get this thing. I don't exactly know what to call it. It's just like a weasel coming out the hat, the spoons. I can't remember what its name is, but it's just a bit weird. But it ends up a few levels over the cap, so I can't actually use it for the upcoming gym. Then it's rival fight time, where he leads with Arceus Lucario and I lead with Sceptile. I go for a Night Slash, which does just under half, as he goes for punishment. And then he takes damage from Life Orb and I kill it with a Leaf Blade. He sends out Voltorb Croconaw, which I Icy Wind for some reason. And then another one, as he sends in Kanga Speed. As I go for a Leaf Blade, which does under half as it goes for a Crunch. I Night Slash to finish it off. Then he sends in Deoxys Sand Slash, which I Night Slash to kill it. Then on the route just north of Nugget Bridge and Cerulean, I find a Krokorok, which I catch with a Quick Ball. And, Crocodile is an incredible dark ground type with a good physical attack, so it'll come in very handy later. Then, just south of Cerulean, I find a Bulbasaur, which catches in a single Quick Ball. Oh no, it doesn't. Apparently I sit here trying to catch it for a while. And then Free Bill after he fused himself with a Rhyhorn, for whatever reason. Then, just in front of Vermilion, I find myself an Elekid, which is surprisingly accurate for just before the Electric Gym. Then in Diglett's Tunnel, I find myself a Mankey, which is a great fighting type with Primeape later on, which helps in a gym. Then, on whatever route to the east of Vermilion, I find a Shuppet, which then catches in a single Quick Ball, which I name Shup. I then fish up a Nidorina in Vermilion, which I throw a Quick Ball at, and that doesn't catch it. But I catch it eventually. Yeah, first Ultra Ball thrown anyway. On Route 12, I fish up a Palisand, which I eventually catch. Then, after an uneventful SSN, I go to challenge Surge, the still Electric Gym Leader, with my Primate Palisand fusion, which is ground fighting, which just uses Bulldoze to sweep the entire gym, pretty much, taking out its first one in 3, draw a potion, the Voltops in 1, and the Electrohorn in 1 as well. Then in Pallet Town, I find a Wartortle, which I go to throw a Quick Ball at, and catch it in 1. I then revive a root fossil, which gives me a Hydreigon, which I named Hydra. Then in the Cerulean, I fish up a Togekiss, which is an easy catch with a singular quick ball, which I nickname Kiss. Then in Cerulean Cape, I fish up an Infernape, which I throw a singular quick ball at and catch. On Route 9, I find a Scyther and a Scizor is an incredible Pokemon later on with Technician and being Steel Bug. It only has one weakness, which is Fire, but it's pretty good. Then on Route 10, I find a Ledybur, which catches in a single quick ball because it's a Ledybur. Then in the Power Plant, I find a Regirock, which is an incredible encounter, which I throw a quick ball at and catch. I will also mention just the static encounter in here was Registeel, so whatever they were doing in this Power Plant was insane. I then revive a Dome Fossil, which I found on Route 9, which gives me a Mamoswine named Swim. I then, in Rock Tunnel, find a Steelix, Steelix is an alright encounter. There are probably definitely better steel types, but Steelix will do. I eventually catch it in an Ultra Ball. Then, after making my way through Rock Tunnel, picking up an egg and a gift Miltank along the way, I go into the rival fight, where it starts with a Duskull Regigigas, which I cannot hit with my Ghost or Fighting type moves, because it's a Ghost normal type. So I use Work Up a few times after using Will-O-Wisp, intending to Will-O-Wisp Work Up Hex, realizing I can't hit it at all, because it's a Ghost normal type, and I will eventually die to burn. So I send out Sceptile, my Sceptile Weavile, who goes for a Night Slash to kill it. As he sends in Kanga Speed, I go for an Icy Wind to do just under half. As an Aerial Ace doesn't kill it, he goes for a Super Potion, I go for another 2 Aerial Aces to finish it off. As he sends in Magnezone Klefki, which I go for Night Slash, and then Leaf Blade to take it out. As he sends in Raikou Ralts, which dies to 2 Ice Beams. Not Ice Beams, Icy Winds. Then, on the route west of Lavender Town, I find a Noivern, which I throw a quick ball at and catch. After healing, I pick up a Lopunny on Route 7, which catches in after I throw 2 Ultra Balls. Then, on Route 16, I find insert D's Nuts joke here, which catches in a single quick ball. Then in the Secret Forest, I find a Marill with Sap Sipper, which I didn't even know was possible, which catches in a single quick ball. Then in Viridian River, I fish up a Celebi, which is just wild, but it catches in not a single quick ball, but I catch it eventually, that's for sure. Then in Celadon, I fish up a Totodile in the little river bit there, which catches in a single quick ball. Then, after rappelling my way through the sewer to avoid a double battle encounter, I face Giovanni, whose first Pokemon falls to 2 Icy Winds, well, 3 in a potion, as he sends in Noctel Baneri, which takes just under half from a Night Slash as it goes for takedown as it dies to a Leaf Blade, as he sends in Tentacruel Vaporeon, which dies to a Leaf Blade also. Then, in the sewers, I find a Meganium, which I catch in a single quick ball and name Mega Knight. I then run into the seemingly random trainer in Erica, this gym, Last K, as I go for Aerial Ace, which does almost kill it, as he goes for a Cross Chop and kills Sceptile, as I go for a Psychic to finish it off. I run back to the Pokemon Center, heavy heart, as the best Pokemon on my entire team is now dead. The thing that felt like a starter after my starter ended up over the level cap. Rest in peace. You will never be forgotten, old friend. Then I run back to Erica, who is a fighting type gym leader, with a almost pure psychic team, as I go for 2 psychics, take out her lead Magnemite Hitmonlee. As she sends him Dialga Infernape, I go for a psychic, doing about a quarter, as I take an Aura Sphere, bring me down to the red, as I switch in Eddie, the Celebi for Alligator, taking an Aura Sphere, as I go for a Confusion. As she goes getting into the red, she goes for a Hyper Potion, healing her up to full. I take an Aura Sphere, go for Magical Leaf, doing next to no damage. Use Baton Pass to switch into Subsonic, the Alakazam Noivern, going for a Psychic, bring it into the red as a second Psychic finishes it off. She sends in Metapod Riolu, which I use Aerial Ace, bring it into the red as he gets confused, punches itself in the face, and dies, giving me the Rainbow. Then, in what is supposed to be the Ghost Marowak fight, they send out a Quilldilly, a Quillfish Cradily. I lead with Hydra, the Hydreigon Lycanroc, go for a Rock Slide, hit with Revenge, and Hydra falls. So, I send in Kiss, the Lopunny Togekiss, got there in the end. Think about what to do. Thinking what is my best move, as I go for an Air Slash to do a little bit of damage as I take a Brine. Another Air Slash finishes it off. And send Hydra off to Valhalla to feast with his friend. Then, on Cycling Road, I find a Snubble, and I now go down Cycling Road to avoid 12, 13, 14, and 15, which I always used to lose something on, but now I don't, because this way is just quicker and skips it all. Then, this random hike sends out a Kyogre Metagross, as I lead Spiky Dragon, going for Needle Arm. This is my Cacturn Noivern, which gets hit with an Ice Beam and dies, unfortunately, in this fight. Send out Infernape Banette, go for a Phantom Force to finish it off. That is another Pokemon to feast in the halls of Valhalla. Rest in peace, soldier. Then, on Route 18, I find a Kabuto, which I capture, eventually, and name Kellogg. Then I enter Blaine's Dark Gym with a specially crafted team to take it on, leading with Punchy Croc, the Primate Crocodile, going for 2 power-up punches, or 3 on the first Machamp Absol to take it out, as he sends in Hunch Style. As I miss a cross chop and take a wing attack, he switches out into Weavor, which I go use Punishment, taking a Slash to kill it. He sends in Hunch Style, as I go for a Power Up Punch to take that out too. He sends in Weaview, the Weavile Mew, the actual one this time, as Punch Croc dies to a Night Slash. Then I sent in Snubs, the Grand Bull Nidoqueen, going for a Power Up Punch, doing little damage, taking a Night Slash, going for another 2, before going for a Superpower, as he gets poisoned. But 2 power finishes it off. Then, on Route 13, I encounter a Slowking, which I swiftly catch in a Quick Ball. Then, on Route 15, I encounter a Lapras, which I first throw a Quick Ball at, as it goes for Body Slam. I then throw an Ultra Ball, as it goes for Perish Song, putting this battle on a 3-turn timer. I use one of those turns to switch into Kiss, as it goes for Rain Dance, 2 turns left. I go for an Ultra Ball, which it breaks out of immediately as it takes a Water Pulse, giving me 1 turn. I throw the Ultra Ball, it doesn't work, it goes for Rain Dance, and then dies to Perish Song. Correction, this is Route 16, the other 15, the other one was 16. On Route 15 I find a Moltres, which I take an Ancient Power from after throwing a Quick Ball, and just keep throwing balls until I eventually catch it. Then, on Route 14, I find a Regigigas, which is a great find, which I eventually capture to use in some very, very fun fusions. Then I find this Rocket Grunt, who leads with a Barbarrel Slacking. I go for a Hammer Arm, as he goes for a Super Fang, dealing half my health, as I one-shot it. Sends in Togekiss Jolteon. Think about switching, but go against it as I take an Aura Sphere and Reginald falls. Send in Hypersonic, the Moltres Noivern. The Noivern is from the egg as I go for an Air Slash and do minimal damage. As a Flamethrower takes it into the red as I take another Air Slash and another into a Flamethrower to finish it off. I run back to the Pokemon Center to lay him to rest in Valhalla and fish and try and find a new team member to use. As I'm heading up to the office, I am faced with my rival as he leaves with Totodile Crobat as I leave with my Shuppet Banette. Go for a Power-Up Punch doing little damage, go for a Phantom Force to do almost kill it as I die to an Aqua Tail. Send in Hypersonic to go for an Air Slash to finish it off as he sends in Kanga Speed. He goes for Endure as I go for Air Slash. He goes for Outrage, nearly killing me. I go for Flamethrower, bring him into the red. Send in Kiss as he goes for an Outrage, which can't do anything as I Extreme Speed to take it out. Sends in Talonflame, Gardevoir. I'm unsure of what to do at first before deciding to go for a Stab Strength, doing nearly no damage. So I just keep clicking it until it dies. He sends in Rapidash, Sand Slash, got there in the end. Go for a Fly, followed by a Power-Up Punch as he goes for Bounce. I misses the bounce as I go for Fly, take a Fire Blast, go for Extreme Speed to kill it. He sends in Chansey Wynot, which has Shadow Tag. So, take my chances, go for Fly, miss the first, miss the second, before eventually hitting the third, dealing next to no damage, and I Fly again, and Kiss falls. I then send in Metagross Palpitoad, Politoed going for a Meteor Mash to finish it off. After doing some quick repair works, I run into Giovanni, leading with my new Granbull Scizor, as my rival has Primate Rattata against another Dusclops Regigigas and a Patrat Rattata. I go for a Night Slash against the Dusgigas, doing little damage. Get confused as the Prime Rattata gets put to sleep. Go for a Night Slash, almost killing it. I then go for one more, still confused. Oh no, I'm not snapped out. I kill the Dusgigas as he sends in Curlia Dratini. As I hit myself in confusion, take a Giga Drain, go for an Iron Head before hitting myself again. As a Hitmon, I think Chan Tyro comes in as I go for an Iron Head, nearly taking out Curtina. As he sends in Tangrowth Blastoise, I take a Stored Power, go for an Exos on Tangrowth Blastoise, dealing next to no damage. I then go back to Iron Head, nearly dying to a Power Whip, switching in Hypersonic as another Outrage goes out as I take a Power Whip, go for a Flamethrower to finish it off. Then the CEO gives me a Leap for saving him, which goes straight to the PC as I then go to grab the Master Ball, which turns out to be a Rock Gem. Then I find a snake in a TV, which is probably meant to be Rotom, so I throw in Quick Ball at it and catch it instantly. Then I enter the Dragon Dojo in the third fight. They lead with a Wigglytuff, Flygon, and Shelgon Slugma. I go for Hyper Voice and Play Rough as my Hyper Voice gets disabled as they send in Gardevoir Dragonair. I go for an Iron Head on the Wigglytuff Flygon and then miss whatever that did. Go for Meteor Mash Iron Head again. They take a double slap and something else. As he sends in Groudon Giratina. I go for a Play Rough and a Hyper Voice. The Hyper Voice is still disabled, and go for a Meteor Mash against the Gardevoir Giratina as Granzor falls. So I send in Hypersonic, who goes for Air Slash against Groutina, as I Meteor Mash the Gardenair again, as I take a Future Sight and an Earth Power. As Hyper Voice is no longer disabled, I go for a Flame Thrower and a switch into my Therathorn Shuckle go for a Hyper Voice, as I go for Ingrain, and Psychic. Psychic do a bit of damage, take a Lava Plume, and Ferrothorn nearly falls. I then switch into Bliss Fable, see it can't be switched out, and go for a Stone Edge and a Psychic, and Psychic finishes it off. I then go to challenge the Master as he leads with Zekrom and Sandslash, as I lead with Politoed Metagross. I take a Zen Head to miss a Meteor Mash, take a Slash, hit my Meteor Mash, get an attack boost, go for a Psychic but fall to a Fusion Bolt. I then send in Bliss Fable, who takes a Slash, goes for a Lucky Chant, takes a Zen Headbutt, goes for a Power Up Punch for no damage, takes a Zen Headbutt, misses an Egg Bomb. So I send in Ferrothorn Shuckle. Take a Zen Headbutt as he gets hit with Iron Barb's damage. Go for an Ingrain for a little bit of extra health regen, along with on top of leftovers, and start clicking Curse, lowering my speed and raising my attack and defense. I use it twice, 3 times, get paralyzed by Dragon Breath, making me even slower, and I go for Gyro Ball, which does more damage the slower you are. But I get flinched by Zen Headbutt, he takes more Iron Barb's damage, and it falls to a Gyro Ball. Then he sends in Dragonair Nidorina as he goes for Agility, making me still slower than it, so Gyro Ball does even more. As Parasect Dragonair comes in and falls to a Gyro Ball. And they then grab what's meant to be a Hitmontop, which turns out to be another Ladybug. Then I enter Sabrina's normal gym with a new member as I lead Hypersonic. As she leads Ditto Banette and go for 2 Air Slashes as she goes for Transform, meaning now it's a speed tie. She goes for Match Potion, I go for a Flamethrower. I then think about switching, but decide against it and go for an Air Slash, flinch it, Air Slash, get another flinch, she goes for a Max Potion, Air Slash, take an Ancient Power, go for another Air Slash, and then Ancient Power to finish it off, getting an Omni Boost. She sends a Zuriel Swinub, which Air Slash nearly kills, as it goes for Bounce. I go for an Agility, as it misses the Bounce and falls to an Ancient Power. She then sends out Ledy and Lopunny. I go for a Flamethrower to kill it. She sends in Ho-Oh Lopunny, or Ho-Punny. Go for an Ancient Power, do no damage, take a Sacred Fire, which does no damage. Air Slash, take a Punishment, and switch into Bliss Fable, who takes a Punishment. Takes a Sacred Fire, gets burned, goes for a Power Up Punch. I then go for an Egg Bomb as it dies to burn and Sacred Fire. Send in Taser, who finishes the fight off with a Thunderbolt. Then, on Route 23, I encounter a Bastiodon, which I catch in 1 Quick Ball. Then, my Cinnabar Island encounter is a Necrozma, which is incredible, so I throw a Quick Ball, which breaks out immediately, and then just start chucking Ultra Balls. But sadly, it was not meant to be, as it gets burned by Flame Body, and then eventually dies to the burn, plus Iron Barb's damage. Then, on Route 20, I find a Machop learning to swim, so I decide to catch it and separate it from all of its family, because why not? Then, in the Pokemon Mansion, I find a Phantump, which I love Trevenant. It's such a cool Pokemon, and I catch it in a single Quick Ball. Then, after making a handcraft team for Blaine's re-randomized fire types, I lead with my Arbok Steelix, who gets scalded and nearly dies, and then gets hit with a Hydro Pump and does die. I then send in Slowk, the Slowking Miltank, who goes for Nasty Plot. and then a second, who then psychics the land chick, takes a discharge, and then psychics again to take it out. Water pulse, oh no, Nasty Plots to get to +6, as the then water pulses the Stantler Vulpix, and then the Charizard Sceptile even. Oh no, water pulse then psychic. Sends in, and then a Slugma Chimchar comes in and falls to a water pulse. Then on the offshore road I find a Trico, which catches in a single quick ball and is given the nickname Gex. I forgot about dupes, so it will be used, so oh well. Then, on the Kindle Road, I find a Rhyperior, which is an incredible encounter with Rock Wrecker, which is an incredibly powerful move. Then, in Mount Ember itself, I find a Fletchinder, which Talonflame is alright, but it's definitely better things. But I do eventually catch it. Then, I run into Giovanni. It's time for Zap Molkuno. I lead with Hypersonic, who goes for an Ancient Power into the Moltres, bringing it down to half health, taking an Ice Beam, getting frozen, taking a Thunderbolt, and then a Safeguard comes up. Unsure of what to do, I send in Blast Queen, who takes an Ice Beam, and a Thunderbolt, which does no damage, and then goes for a Surf, but takes an Ice Beam and a Drill Peck, and is unable to attack. So, I send in Taser, who goes for a Thunderbolt into Moltres and kills it, but takes an Ice Beam and Thunderbolt. I switch in Pharaoh, who takes an Ice Beam and gets frozen. And then his light screen goes up as Tailwind peters out. Take another Ice Beam and a Thunderbolt bring me into the yellow. Unable to set up Ingrain, I heal a little off leftovers and switch into Hawk. As a Reflect goes up, I take a Thunderbolt and Hawk falls. I send in Meganum, who goes for Petal Blizzard, hitting everything for very little damage as it falls to an Ice Beam. As I send in the Frozen Pharaoh to go for an Ingrain as Roost and Roost go out, but he stays frozen. As he takes Thunderbolt, bring him into the red, he still is frozen and dies and falls. I then send in Taser, who attempts to recover, who succeeds but then dies to an Ice Beam. I send in Hypersonic, still frozen, who goes for an Ancient Power but falls to an Ice Beam. Now, under most people's rule sets, this would be a wipe. They would start over. But with my rule set, the run's over when I'm out of Pokemon in the PC. So we run it. As I face Giovanni, he sends out Zap Molkuno as I lead Stumpy, who goes for Forest Curse, turning Zapdos into a Grass type as he takes an Ice Beam. He turns Zapdos into a Grass type, takes a Thunderbolt, and taking him to 22 health. He then attempts to turn... Nope. What am I doing? I don't actually know. I send in... someone, maybe? I don't know. It's funny because I have no script for this. I'm making it up as I go. But you can tell from before where I'm just... the earlier one where I'm just switching in without thinking. I actually do think this time. I go for a Forest Curse, but fall to a Flamethrower. So... I send in Rally, the Azumarill Rhyperior, who takes a Flamethrower, an Ice Beam, and a Drill Peck, and Rock Wreckers the Moltres as it falls, as he takes an Ice Beam and Drill Peck when he recharges. 1 down, 2 to go. Thinking here, I send in Kellogg, the Cradilly Kabutops, who takes an Ice Beam and a Drill Peck, and goes for a Giga Drain on the now Grass type. Takes a Thunderbolt and falls. So, I send in Mamosand. And click Earthquake for some reason. But only take an Ice Beam as I go for Blizzard, taking Zapdos into the yellow after a berry. I go for another Blizzard, taking out Zapdos. Just Articuno left. Mamosand takes an Ice Beam, lives on 1 health, goes for a Giga Drain, heals almost no HP, and falls. So, I send in Sloke, who goes for a Water Pulse for next to no damage as it goes for a Haze. I then go for a Nasty Plot, as another Haze comes out, so I go for Nasty Plot again, as it clicks Roost. Nasty Plot again, as an Ice Beam, as I go for Power Gem to finish off a Zap, Mole, Kuno. Then I go to Knot Island, the only one of the 7 islands you're allowed on before Post came, and find a Solosis, and catch it in a Quick Ball. Then I find these 2 people who give me 2 eggs for 5 heart scales each. Turns out you get a lot using Rock Smash in this game. But these 2 eggs will be the saving grace of this run. The first egg hatches into a Pawniard, and Bishop is a great Pokemon with access to Sword Stance and a wide range of physical moves, on top of a very powerful physical attack stat. Then the second egg hatches into a Bagon, a Salamence which will be incredibly good also. It's now time for the final gym leader, Giovanni, as he leads with Jump Love Dragonite, as I lead with Scoliosis, the Reuniclus Salamence. As he goes for a U-turn, I go for Fly, which brings it into the red as I take a Moonblast. I then go for it again as he full restores, and goes for a Tailwind. Flamethrower does little damage as another full restore comes out as I fly, finishing it off as Tailwind peters out. As he sends a Koffagosum, I then fly again, bring it into the yellow as I get Mean locked in, as he sends a Jump Knight, which takes half health from a Flamethrower. As he goes for U-turn again, sending in Koffagosum, I fly to finish it off. As a Bayleaf Diglett comes out, goes for a Safeguard, as I fly to one-shot it. And Jump Knife comes back out, Jump Knight even, as I fly to finish it off. As finally, Venium comes in, one of my own fusions, as I go for 2 Flamethrowers. A Flamethrower, switch into Flow to take a Solar Beam, and finish it off with a Flame Charge. My Route 25 encounter is a Graveler, which I catch in 1 Quick Ball, of course, I wouldn't. Then, on Route 27, I encounter an Ursaring, which, again, catches in 1 Quick Ball. Then, in Tojo Falls, I encounter a Sandslash, which is also really good for its access to Sword Stance, and in this game it's even better because it can be fused with Pokemon with a much wider range of moves, which I do eventually catch. Then, my final encounter of the game in Victory Road is Oricorio, which I catch in a single Quick Ball. For you to meet my Elite Four team, Flow, Scoliosis, Rally, Sloke, Gex, and Vion. And I run straight into the Elite Four against Lorelei, who leads with Diglett, Kabuto. I go for a Sword Stance to hopefully set up and sweep her whole team. Eventually, I'm sure. Yep, Sword Stance, as I take an Earthquake, ground gem boosted, and Flow immediately dies. I send in Rally, who takes an Earthquake, goes for an Aqua Tail, heals a list with leftovers. As a full restore comes out, Rally goes for a Bulldoze, lowering speed. As I go for a Power-Up Punch, as Lorelei heals again, as I take another Earthquake and Aqua Tail to finish it. As Octillery Rhydon comes in, I go for a switch into Gex, who takes Bullet Seed, goes for a Workup, takes Hydro Pump, Giga Drains to one-shot, and heal almost all of its health back, as Goo-Raid comes in, which almost falls to a Giga Drain, but it falls to the second, as out comes Banette Psyduck, who Sucker Punches, then dies to a Giga Drain, as I heal back up to full. Oh, nope, not full. Almost full. As Chinchu Zekrom comes in, I take a Hydro Pump, go for a dual chop dealing little damage. As it goes for charge, I Dynamic Punch to finish it off. Next up on the chopping block is Bruno, who leads with a Why Not Seal as I lead with Vion. The Sand slash Scolipede, who goes for a Sword Stance. Oh no, 2 Sword Stances, I may have missed one. No, 1, and then Earthquake. No, it was 2. Mega Horn. I am unsure what to do here, so I take a Stored Power, go for a Mega Horn to one-shot. As out comes Rhyhorn Execute, which I go for Poison Tail as I take an Earthquake and nearly die. As a full restore comes out, I Earthquake to finish it off, and Sandpoke falls to a Mega Horn. Bruno is... Next up is Agatha, who leads with a Dunsparce Swinub, as I switch into Rally to take a Flail, as I go for a Aqua Tail, as it uses Endure. I go for another one, and it falls. Out comes Rhydon, a Rhyhorn Shieldon, who takes an Aqua Tail, barely survives. I go for a Power Up Punch, raising my attack, and go for another Power Up Punch, taking an Earthquake, taking it into the red. I then go for Aqua Tail, taking another Earthquake into the yellow, healing a lot with leftovers. Out comes Machamp Swampert. Machamp Swampert. Yeah. Who I seem very stuck on what to do. I eventually decide on Aqua Tail, which takes it out. And out comes Clink Diglett, which falls to an Aqua Tail. And so does Typhlosion Marowak, meaning Agatha down, 2 to go. The final member of the Elite Four is Lance, as he leads with Articuno Azumarill. Azumarill. I immediately... Oh, maybe not. It's so much funny doing this live with no script, because you're probably as surprised as I am. I eventually decide to switch into Oh, no. I choose carefully. I eventually decide... Oh, no. I do just Sword Stance. As a Reflect goes up, I Sword Stance again, taking a Freeze Stride to bring me to 42 HP. I then switch into Gex, who then takes a Freeze Stride, stays in green, who goes for a Giga Drain to the next no damage, taking another Freeze Stride, going into the red. I then switch into Scoliosis, who takes a Freeze Dry and goes for a Flamethrower, bring it into the red as it goes for Agility. Hail goes out as a Flamethrower, finishing it off. Out comes Weavile, Cloyster, as it goes for a Punishment, taking out Scoliosis. Rally comes in, going for a Power-Up Punch as he takes a Dark Pulse, finishing off Weavista, as he gets buffeted by Hail and restored by Leftovers. Out comes Regigigas Galele. He's using all one of these. Half of the fusion I've fallen as one of my mons. Out as he goes down to another Power Up Punch. Out comes Smoochum Hypno, which falls to an Aqua Tail. Togepi Lapras falls to a Rock Wrecker, and that's the end of Lance. It's now time for the champion. He leads Crocodile Hitmonchan as I lead Vion. I immediately go to check what type it is, probably. On Infinite Fusion Calculator. I'll leave a link to it in the description, actually. It's really useful. I then switch into Rally, who takes an Earthquake, bringing it into 89, and then restores to 103 with leftovers. I then switch into Gex, who takes an Earthquake and goes for a Giga Drain, taking an Outrage. It survives as I go for Dynamic Punch, living on 2 HP from Outrage. As out comes Execute Girafarig. I have nothing left really to deal with this, so I send in Vion, who takes an Egg Bomb, Realizing my mistake that this is a grass psychic type still. And this is my ground poison type. I realize this thing is very much dead. Vion goes for a Mega Horn as a berry weakens the damage and it falls to a Psyshock. Out comes Sloke, who goes for a Psychic as a full restore goes out, dealing very little damage. So I go for Power Gem but fall to a Leaf Storm. With only Rally and Gex left, I realise it's over. I go for a Rock Wrecker but fall to Wood Hammer, and Gex is all that's left. With 2 health, I go for Dynamic Punch but fall to Wood Hammer.